Next up, representing Jersey Champs, Sean Yuming Kelly.
What's up, guys? I founded a company called Jersey Champs about 3 years ago. I'm 22 years old now. We basically make custom jerseys for celebrities, professional athletes, rappers, and my strength is influencer marketing.
Thank you for joining the Passion to Profit podcast. Again, thanks. It's a pleasure for having you on here. This is Sean Kelly, everybody. Sean, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, where you grew up at, where you're kind of at now with life, just a little brief summary about you.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm 23 years old, just moved out to LA, but I grew up in New Jersey my whole life and sort of been an entrepreneur my whole life. Just, sold candy in school, all that stuff, and worked my way up to now what I'm selling is jerseys. And own a company called Jersey Champs now. We make custom sports jerseys.
Okay, so I was looking at your Jersey Champs and things like that, and I see you have a pretty large following. When did you start Jersey Champs? Was that your first business and things like that?
Yeah, it was sort of like my second business. I tried doing a concert booking thing, but that failed when I was a freshman in college. But it was my first e-com business. Okay. And about 4 years and 2 months now.
Doing pretty well, excelling in that area. And one thing I want to let a lot of people know, again, because it's a lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs at that. Jersey Champs wasn't your first business. So I want to know the first one that failed. What kind of was the struggles of that? Did you know you didn't really want to go along with school? Or were you kind of hesitant to I don't know if this is going to work out, but I'm going to try and then switch to something that works? But what was kind of your process of going about your first one failing, then switching to the next one, and what you wanted to do after college?
Yeah, so I was basically just in way over my head. I paid these artists like 15 grand to do a concert. And in actuality, I should have worked my way up to that because that's like a lot of money. So I ended up only selling 4 tickets. So
I got you.
We canceled the whole thing. And I just wasn't experienced enough at the time as a marketer. I was trying to do that all through word of mouth and just texting people. But now I know a lot more, so it'd probably be more successful. But I learned some lessons and just went on.
Okay. And did you get to finish college, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I dropped out beginning of sophomore year. I was technically still a freshman though, because credits-wise, I only had 12.
Oh, okay. And before you had dropped out, were you kind of already on the path with Jersey Champs and you already seen a lot of success there and things like that?
Yeah, for me, I wanted that affirmation, that proof of concept. I think that's important. I think you should have a little proof of concept before making that dropout because that's a big decision. And for me, I just couldn't do both at the same time. The business and school is too much.
Definitely. And I just, again, want to let a lot of people know, because I know in this kind of era, entrepreneurship and things like that is kind of glorified, but people really need to understand, you have to be willing to get drugged through the mud, that self-doubt, stuff like that, just fighting your own battles within yourself. Did you kind of see yourself struggling with things like that too at times, and self-doubt?
Oh yeah, 100%. Everyone doubts you at first. It's very lonely because you're not going out as much. Because the first year you're just grinding so hard. It's definitely a mental battle between yourself. It's hard. It's not easy.
Definitely.
But that's the hardest stage you're gonna be in, is that when you're in the mud, in the beginning like that. So once you're out of that, and you have that network around you, then it becomes much easier.
Definitely. I hear you. So I assume your networking got a lot stronger in that once you started kind of scaling your business. Kind of what was your way about kind of going and knowing when you should start scaling, when you started seeing a nice, a positive ROI on your business? What were some of the key things you went about for scaling? Yeah. And just growing that network overall.
Yeah. So scaling, when I was first starting out, of course, I was a broke college student. So I didn't really know about Facebook ads at all. So the first really thing I did was just paying Instagram pages to post my jerseys. And once I saw that was profitable, I think 8 out of 10 times we paid a page, we were profiting, which is pretty good for us. So in the long run, we were profitable. I started doing Facebook ads from there, and then those were profitable. So I moved into Instagram ads, and then I moved into Google ads. And then we tried Snapchat and a few other platforms from there. But if you can become profitable on Facebook, then you can usually become profitable on other platforms.
What would you prefer, influencer marketing or Facebook ads?
So for me, influencer marketing, I don't see that as a revenue channel. I see that as just proof of concept. And I take the photos of all the celebrities with my images, with my jerseys, and I use those for Facebook ads.
That's one big one I kind of wanted to talk about. I have some more. Another thing I wanted to talk about was, I seen you had joined that mastermind group. So again, congratulations on that. I know you're probably getting a ton from that, but making that type of, I guess, per se, purchase or that acceptance into that group you're in which, if anyone doesn't know, you paid about what, $100K to get into that mastermind group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$100,000.
Yeah. So if you guys check Sean out on his Instagram, you can learn a lot more about him. He's pretty much everywhere. But joining that mastermind group in the networking, what are some of the main things you'd say that would help you through that whole journey? Because to other people, spending that amount of money on a mastermind group like that sounds outrageous, but obviously you see opportunity within there.
Yeah, well, of course you got to work your way up. You can't just do that off the bat, because when you're joining a mastermind like that, you're going to want to come in with something you could provide a value to the other members or to the coaches. And I was the youngest one there, which was awesome, but I was also financially the least successful one there by far. So I learned a lot, and I ended up partnering with two of them on mask deals. We sold masks to hospitals and a state, and they were multi-million-dollar deals. So I made the money back right away. So I think you can really get an ROI from these masterminds. You got to do your due diligence on who's running them, like everyone that's in it, of course. But that's one I definitely stand behind. The people in there are great. And there's 24 coaches, and they all have done over $100 million in revenue, which is why it's called the 100 Million Mastermind. So it's been great.
That's amazing. But no, it's really nice to see your success and things like that, and just to see you grow further, because you're running your stuff pretty successful. As an entrepreneur, and when you're running something, we know one of the best skills to have is to be able to adapt quick. With the coronavirus and everything coming around in February, March time, was there anything crucial you had to really pivot on within your Jersey Champs? And what did you now I want to focus on this for now, and just basically switching gears? How was that for you, and how did you handle the whole situation of COVID?
Yeah, it was tough. Something like that never happened to me before. So definitely a learning experience. I didn't really have much inventory in the US, so it affected us the first month or two since our factories were shut down. So we had to pretty much stop all of our ads. But the one good thing that came out of it was Facebook ads became a lot cheaper. So once we got our supply chain fixed, we were able to just run it up, because ads were like 3 times cheaper than they normally were.
Okay.
And they're still pretty cheap today, because a lot of people aren't running ads still because of the coronavirus.
Okay, I see exactly what you mean. I haven't ran any ads in a while, and I didn't even notice that the price of them are going down based off of COVID. Another thing I was curious about is, I see you're running your business. Are you interested in ever running some type of mentorship for kids, wanting to kind of just guide them in the right directions when you get even more experience down the road? Just because we both know, like, entrepreneurship, honestly, and again, I know it's glorified, but people don't actually realize the grit and perseverance to achieve whatever it is you need. Because, I mean, working for yourself sounds amazing, but you work more than a 9 to 5, you know what I mean? So so it's really, I really just want, again, to put into the people's head just the idea of things about like mentoring, stuff like that. What is something someone would want to look for when they're looking for a mentor? So some of the characteristics that, if you want to be a mentor, what are those characteristics you want to get down, and what should people look for within someone to look up to?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's pretty simple. What I look for, it's someone that's already done it with their own 2 hands. Like, they aren't a fraud. They literally started it from scratch and did it themselves. Ideally without any massive funding, because obviously most people don't have access to that. People that start from scratch, I really like that. And you have the internet, so you can really find out a lot about the person you're trying to reach out to, and you can get their email, and you can find a mentor at networking events. I'm a big believer in networking events. I used to host free, like, monthly ones before coronavirus, because that's something I never had access to when I was growing up, and entrepreneurship isn't really taught in schools. So I'm trying to really cater towards that college, high school demographic, where, like, I didn't even know this was an option when I was in high school. Like, for me, it was like college was a must, and then you get a job. And if you weren't getting into college where I'm from, you were like considered a loser. So I'm trying to change that narrative, because I think that's kind of outdated.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. Those little, I guess, networking events, you said you used to do some things like that before COVID?
Yeah, so I used to host free monthly networking events in New Jersey. Now that I'm in LA, once this is all over, hopefully it ends soon, I'll be having them here. But the
in
people
LA
I've
or New
met
Jersey?
in LA.
In
Yeah.
LA, cool.
But the people I've met, it's just been like amazing. It's worth it, because I host them for free and I'm spending money on the event and stuff, but I always make it back with the people I meet.
Oh, cool. If you ever host one in LA, I'd definitely be there. I think that's really interesting because with me, like kind of growing like the Discord chat and the members in there, it's not just like stock market stuff, but it's other stuff like with your finances, and this and that. But just to really, again, the demographic is really that high school, college area, just kind of lean you in the right direction. Because like you were saying, what I want to touch up on again is the traditional way of going through life. And once you kind of steer off of that path, like as an entrepreneur or something, and you're not getting your degree doing this, you get a lot of judgment thrown your way. Again, I kind of want to go back on, because I just kind of want to pick your thoughts, because I think it's going to help someone that's viewing this video. Can we go over a little more about that, like self-doubt, like things when people don't really see what you're doing until like the fruits of your labor start showing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just something you're gonna have to do with as an entrepreneur, and that's just that's not ever gonna go away. Like I still have doubts to this day. Like it's just part of being an entrepreneur. You have super high highs and really low lows, and the higher you get, the greater the fall. And every year, you know, as you're growing, you're gonna have really big falls. Like it's tough, man, but that's just how entrepreneurship is. Like you have to deal with, you know, lawsuits. You got to deal with problems normal people don't deal with. Like it's a mental battle, but like things that have helped me were like surrounding myself with really positive people, meditation, you know, just taking some time off. Cause I used to work, man, like 15 hours a day. And after doing that for a year straight, you're going to be super stressed. And there's some days where you just need to chill. And I think taking time off is super important.
When you were in college, what was kind of the, I don't know if what your parents or who your guardian or whoever you had grown up with, kind of what was their take on you making that type of decision?
Dropping out. So my mom was pretty pissed, but she knew I would work really hard and she saw me working really hard. So I eventually, probably a couple months after I dropped out, she realized like this was my,
You're serious.
my path. This was for me.
Yeah,
My dad was about it. Like he didn't really mind. He actually didn't want me to go to college because he thinks it's like a waste of money these days. But yeah, it was tough for my mom at first, but because she's like the traditional Asian parent where like academics are super important.
Because my dad, again, is from Jamaica. My mom, full Mexican. So, you know, traditional path was, again, always the way. But when you were pursuing that degree at first, what were you pursuing when you were going to college? And did that help you with your business now?
Yeah, so I was trying to get into the business school at Rutgers, but I didn't get in when I applied because my GPA was too low. And then I was trying to transfer in, but I couldn't pass pre-calc, so I never was able to get in. So I was in the School of Arts and Sciences, taking classes I didn't really like. But I think the one great thing about college is the networking. So like people that are in college now, take advantage of that because like those are people you're going to grow with over time. And they're like some of them, you never know how successful they're going to be. And they're all like-minded. So
do you stay in contact with some of those guys you met when you were a freshman?
yeah, a few of them. And even the one great thing, actually, this just happened to me because I went to Rutgers University. I'm not an alumni, but if I ever run into someone that graduated there and they're super successful, I'll always use that as like a trump card. Like, hey, I went to Rutgers University. And this just happened because I'm getting into sports card investing now because of Gary Vee.
I've seen that.
The inflation. And this guy has done 20 million in sales in sports cards, and he's a Rutgers alumni.
So he happened to be a Rutgers alumni.
Yeah. So the first email I sent him was like, hey, I went to Rutgers. He responded right away, gave me his number, and we hit it off. So he's going to mentor me in cards.
Now that you actually brought up those sport cards. So with the sport cards market, how do you kind of see it as more of like just an opportunity there, kind of an untapped market? Or because I haven't looked in it at all when it comes to supply and demand within cards and which ones.
Yeah.
So I see you've been posting about it. So it looks like you're looking forward to that. How is that going? And I see Gary Vee got you into that, but.
Yeah. So I hopped in late, unfortunately, but I don't think it's too late. I plan on investing until the playoffs are over for the NBA, selling about 80% of what I got, and then keeping the legends that I got, like Michael Jordan, Kobe, for long-term investments. Okay. But it's a pretty safe play from what I've been studying. I mean, because you're basically betting in how good a player is going to be. So as long as you believe in that player, over time the card value is going to go up. So I just picked up a bunch of like Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Do you see it pretty scalable, especially when you're seeing success with it?
So I started a week ago. I put in about 25 grand. So I'm going to
Mhm.
see what that turns into in a month and then 3 months and then sort of base it from there. I don't know how scalable, like how many cars are in the market. I still have to study that more.
Just do a little more market research on those things.
Yeah.
Definitely. I got you. Don't want to take up too much of your time. If there's anything you want to kind of leave these group of entrepreneurs or just in general people watching, if there's anything you want to leave with them, Sean.
Yeah, dude. Like the biggest thing I would recommend is just look at your circle right now and make sure those people are like-minded. So if you're watching this podcast, that means you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to do business things. And for me, when I was in college, like I was chilling with a bunch of like stoners and partiers and stuff, and that wasn't the right environment at all for me. I need to be around people that, are trying to grow a business, e-com people, stuff like that. So that was definitely a mistake I had starting out. So I'd say just really take a look at your circle, really try to network more. The best networking you could do on social media is probably Instagram. And I've met some cool people on TikTok actually too.
Mhm.
So I just take that very
You found me
seriously.
through
Network.
TikTok.
Yeah.
But no, again, Sean, I appreciate your time. It's a pleasure having you on here and just being able to share your knowledge with some other people. So I do appreciate that.
100%. I hope you crush it, man. I think you're going to hit 100K on YouTube one day.
Thanks, Sean. I'm gonna hit you back up when that happens.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely, Sean. You take care.
All right, man.